and today I am going to be using this sketch from Scrapbook Generations. It calls for 7 photos, but I'm going to get 9 photos altogether on it. I am going to be using this paper pack that I picked up from Tuesday morning from PhotoPlay, and I believe it's called Freestyle. The paper in it is mainly about like snowboarding and things like that. I picked it up because the B-sides were definitely colors that I would use, and a lot of the stickers I could use as well. I love this wood grain here, and it actually has this like red, yellow, blue stripe at the top, and I wanted to make sure that I left that intact so that I could use that all together because I didn't need it for this particular layout. This sketch calls for 3 4x12 pieces of paper plus 3 4x4 photos, which consist of most of the layout. And then it calls for additional photos on the left and right of that. Now, the great thing about this sketch is that you can leave it just like the way the photos are, or you can change it up. On the right-hand side, it calls for a 4x6 photo, but I went ahead and put 2 3x5 photos, I think, that are there. I just kind of cut them down to, I didn't really measure them. And then at the bottom, I have 3x3 photos instead of the 2 photos. Now, this middle photo here was a little bit larger, and so what I decided to do was go ahead and back that on a blue piece of paper as well and let it stand out a little bit more. So I went ahead and put down all of the other pieces, and then I brought out this blue paper. This paper is not something that I would use. The back, maybe it's like a black and white checkered, but this particular collection comes with 2 pieces of each paper, so I knew that I would be able to use it on the other piece. I end up using the entire piece to back the photos. Now, I did pull out my We Are Memory Makers, I believe is what it's called, the layering guides, and I love these tools because they make the border around your photos completely equal on all 4 sides. And it does take a little finagling with them sometimes, especially if the photos are printed at like a 1-hour photo lab, which I also think would be the same quality of photos that are printed at home. They don't have a lift to them, so once I put them down on the paper, I do have to run my nail underneath them just to get them to stand up a little bit. And when I do that, I have no problem at all making sure that they line up correctly and they hit that little ledge that's on the inside of them to make sure that they're straight. So once I got the blue paper behind that 4x4 photo on the middle, and I went ahead and put it down, I did go ahead and cut it to the edge, and so I do have a flush edge of photos, and then 3 sides of the photos has the border around it, and I really like the way that that turned out. I also decided to add a border punch, and apparently I was having issues with my border punch and not paying attention. I missed 2 big pieces on it, so I had to pull it up a little bit and repunch it. And unfortunately, I had already like ruffled up the edges, so it made it very difficult to get that punch in there again. And then because I added that border punch, instead of adding the stripe paper all the way to the edge, I went ahead and moved it over just a little bit so that the piece that's sticking out is the border punch, and then it has that stripe right next to it. So the photos that are down on the bottom, on the right-hand side, I went ahead and added a second photo because my photos at the top are a little bit larger. I did start out with 2 photos down at the bottom, but it just looked a little bit different or odd with the 2 photos because the sketch calls for the photos to line up exactly because they're the same size. But because I had added my photos a little bit larger at the top, it just looked off. So I went ahead and added that 3rd photo, and I think that it played with the measurements and the symmetry of it all. You know, most of the time when I talk to you guys about things and bring things up, I'm usually making it up as I go along. So it looked appeasing to the eye. Let's go with that. And I think that it turned out really well. So I went ahead and added my photos down. The top 2 photos are down flat, and then I went ahead and added fun foam to the top photos. Now, these photos are of the boys up on my ledge in my house. So I don't have an attic in my house. I have vaulted ceilings, so you have this like shelf or ledge at the top there, and the boys asked if they could play up there. And I have the mindset or thought process that the home is supposed to be the place where you're allowed to have fun and do fun things and be crazy and silly, and, you know, understanding that there are things that you can do at home that you would never do at somebody else's house or out in public. Climbing on somebody else's ledge, one of those things that I would never let them do out in public or at somebody else's house, and they understand that. And so they just hung out up there. They thought it was cool to be up there. They told me that it was very dusty up there, so I probably should have sent them up there with some dust rags so that they could have cleaned while they were up there as well. So I did decide to go ahead and pull out my die book, and I just decided to go ahead and pull out a couple of the stars, and I went ahead and cut the stars out in the wood grain. I do use a piece that I cut out there. You can see over there on the right hand side a little tab in the black and white checkered. I thought that that was really an interesting look because I wanted to use this little die cut here that says no fear, and it had the black and white checkered on it as well. So I started over there on the left hand side adding my embellishment pieces above that photo there. I start with that wood grain star and then go ahead and put that no fear tag up on fun foam. When I was talking before, I did add the word dare in the banners that came with the embellishment piece as well. And then this tag here that says stay rad, I also went ahead and added fun foam to that and made sure that it was popped up as well. I was able to pull out some of the sticker pieces. I really liked this orange, and there's a orange in the stripe paper, but I realized after I put the sticker down that I probably needed to add a lot more orange because it is such a bold color compared to the blues and browns. And I like that contrast, but I needed to make sure that I had enough of it to make it look like that's what I was actually doing, as opposed to just randomly sticking a orange piece on there. I did think about using that boy title there, with the title being something like Epic Boys or something along those lines, but because there was a period after the word epic, I really couldn't use that as part of the title. So I just went ahead and pulled those numbers out, and I just like the way that that looks right above the word epic there. I did go ahead and pull out my embellishment books, and you can see that over there on the far right hand side. I usually just take an old piece of backing from like stickers, and I keep those inside my embellishment books. That way I can put the embellishments on them and they are still sticky. So I have these like cork pieces. I don't even know where I got them from, but they are like a huge sheet of different size corks. And so those three pieces that I just put down, the one on the bottom right hand side that's a square, the one up there by Epic, and then the one over there by the photo on the left, they're just cork pieces, and they're just in different shapes, and I really like the way that that looks. Gives it a little bit of extra texture in the layout. I think that it just pulls in like the wood grain and the plaid. It just gives it one more texture in there. I also did go ahead and add that circle down there on the bottom that says all the funny, crazy, happy, silly details, which I think is perfect because the boys sitting up on top of the ledge at the house, there's not really much more to say about that. I did pull out another brad that's a little arrow, and it's orange as well, just to bring in that orange color. And I added a word sticker down at the bottom so that the tag there that says stay rad, it now says stay rad with courage. So here is my final layout, as well as some close-ups. And off camera, I do go ahead and add my journaling over there on the far right hand side. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.